All right. Well, that thing of upon having never left, we've used that for a book, our third book. And it actually came about. It's an old statement. I don't know if it's Buddhist or not, but it was in a yoga studio in Philadelphia. So again, almost every time I've ever given a talk, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And sometimes that lasts longer than the talk starts, you know. It's so I was looking at the wall and it had this thing, gone, gone, gone. I think it's Gotti, 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 but it's gone, 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 to the other shore. Yes, this is supposed the other shore is, let's say, awakeness or whatever. Yeah, in Buddhism. Gone, gone, gone to the other shore upon arriving on having never left, or on arriving upon having never left. So you get it, yes?
Yeah.
Yes. So there was the idea to go, go, go to another shore. When you arrive there, seemingly arrive there, it states there's a recognition that upon having never left. So there was no arrival, was there? So the horse you rode in was imaginary. And then when you get there you go. Yeah. So this whole point of non-duality, I feel, is the fact before all the other facts we think. Yeah. The fact before it all, which is being ourselves reality. And if reality is infinite, yes, let's just say that, yeah, reality is infinite, timeless, then being, there would be no pause of the being, wouldn't it? It would just be being reality. Not I wasn't being reality, then I did something, and then I got to be reality, and then I did something that exiled me from being reality. Yeah, because like being interpreted through a doing type of thing. No, being ourselves reality is the ever-present condition. This is just the assumption of non-duality, I feel, how I see it. Yes. So if you're speaking in non-duality, it's a negation of duality. That's how it's pointed, but the fact underlying it is you are what you're looking for. Yeah. And so if that lands, and it will if you're not moving, and you are not that which moves, so definitely it lands. There will be an aha. It may be covered up or deflected or distracted from, but basically that knowing that the head does want to know is still knowing. Yeah. So satsang uh, has a good track record of triggering that knowing. Just in spite of the head not wanting to know, it triggers the knowing. And the knowing obviously has a sense of being before. Yeah, because you're in the after, you're looking for it. And then when you get whacked, you are it. So in the after, you're looking for it, but before you are it. Yeah. So what's looking is in the after. So it's looking for. The who, I mean, is the who that's looking is using the what to look for the what. Yes. That's what happens after. It isn't about cleaning that up. It's about seeing it from the before. So you don't do anything about that which is using what's looking to look for what's looking. You don't. You just see it from before it. Yeah. And then usually there's laughter, or it's so ludicrous, it's so insanely how this could possibly have gotten any traction. Yeah, because you get a hit that sometimes a hit will tell you it's always been this way. So there's never been a speck of time or space that you have not been being ourselves reality. Yeah. Now we may be seemingly as in ourself being a lot of things, yeah, but the underlying fact is being ourselves reality. So what doesn't get that fact cannot it is seen as not you, really. Yeah. So now because you are that which is still, yes, You don't have to work to get still. It happens instantaneously after you just give up the ghost. You're being still, and then when that can't be still, the mental activity, you sit there for a second or stand there or whatever, and then it gets agitated because that's its nature. And that's not your nature.
Yes.
Your nature is not agitated. Your nature is reality. Yeah. Now there can be agitation in reality, but it's not reality that's agitated.
Right.
Yes, but there can be agitation. There can be tons of stuff going on that are coming and going, but that's not real because real wouldn't come and wouldn't go. It just is. And real isn't, being reality isn't a verb that a noun did. Yeah, you
Yes.
aren't being reality as if it's a verb you're practicing. Yeah, it says you're being ourselves reality now. Yeah. So whatever you think you're in, you're not. And whatever you're trying to get out of, you're not in. And so instead of that rocking the boat, which is what the agitation of the head does, yes, it's trying to get out of what it's not in and into what it's not out of, you suddenly become still, even with the rocking. So you see the rocking, but it's not having the effect when you're like singing along with the choir. You're seeing it, yeah? And you see, and then you see, like in recovery, you'll be brought to a point where you'll see the system that has been relied on is failed. Yeah. It isn't because you fucked up or anything like that. It's just a failed system. Yeah. Basically, almost like, and let's say you have a horse, it died. You haven't, that hasn't been acknowledged or accepted yet. And you don't want to accept it because you bought a saddle for it for Christmas and shit, but it's dead. Yeah. Yeah, and then we did a whole talk on the Poopa Scooper points this stuff out. The head will get invested in its idea of a solution. And so when it's presented with a solution, it actually has a pause or like, it knows what it heard is true, but it doesn't want to know it's true. And if the head is running the show, it's going to just jump over that. Yeah, we had it with the dog, and all the shit. And you learn how to pick up shit, and you're really good at picking up shit. And you get to be known by a lot of other people who have big lawns, and there's a lot of shit happening on them. And you get asked to speak at places. And then some videos come out, and then you start getting good. You're ambidextrous, so you can use two poopa scoopers, and you're really picking it up like crazy. And so you get a little moment of clear 6 by 4 foot piece of grass, but then you leave, it's shit. And so you suddenly have an answer, a solution to pick it up super fast. Well, you'll have some time. Will the lawn, not all of it, but a part of it will be pristine temporarily. And of course, and now you're getting a lot of accolades because people, it's working for them too. And they're buying your audiograph poopa scoopers, and you got jackets and videos and everything. And then a guy comes and meets you. And I said, hey, I heard you have a solution about the poopa scoopers. Oh, yes, man, I got this double poopa scooper move. It's incredible. Yeah, then the guy goes, all right, well, just find the dog. Why don't you just find the dog? And it hits the poopa scoop in the guy, but then the head jumps in and he doesn't have an understanding that it isn't him that jumps in. He has an understanding that it's him that jumps in, but it's the head. And the head says, don't look, oh, fuck that. Look at you got 500 poopa scoopers in the garage. You got to sell them.
Yeah.
You got a year of seminars you're leading. So you don't want the answer. You want your answer. Yeah, because it's already been consumed by the system. Yes. Yeah. So, but it's just, hey, find the dog. So in this case, it's find the you. Yeah. And when you don't have the allegiance that the head has with the you, you'll see the you is not you. Yeah, that's that. There's like a whistle, and all the interest and attention that kept flying up that ass of self migrates, leaves. And now, just like in me, with this blew me out in this life when I got uh, taken over by alcoholism, and then a specific addiction grew out of that petri dish, which was drug addiction. Yeah, and then there was a more specific uh, idol, uh, idolizing one drug, cocaine. Yes, so it all happened. Yes, and I was brought to my knees, and I had been living on a bottom, and it was very clear to me it was never going to change. No human power could do it, including mine. Yeah, my mother, everyone. And I had given it my best shot. I'd been in a program for 2 years. I went back to college. I felt better about myself. They told me, that period, though rather long, of being Mr. Hyde was over, and I was going to be Dr. Jekyll. And I had a hope that that was going to be true, but I had a strong suspicion that something was off. And then I left the controlled environment of this program, Delancey Street, and the parasite just took me over like very quickly, and used me for transportation and just ran me into the ground. And I was completely demoralized because I thought I gave it my best shot. They said you have turned the tide. Now you're going to go straight ahead. Yeah, as Dr. Jekyll. Mr. Hyde, no. Well, Mr. Hyde took over quickly and demoralized completely. And basically, this seemingly hopeless condition, the head had convinced me that I was hopeless. So I basically was just trying to get loaded on the shittiest stuff, anything. Just didn't want to be conscious now. I didn't. Yeah. And I was busily following that. Just came out of a big blackout, which is, I have my own opinion of what that is, but you're displaced. And another representative, another Paul runs the show for a few days or a day or 12 hours. Yeah. And for the story of the familiar Paul to stay true, it can't brook another Paul. And I actually did better when I was in a blackout. I didn't get arrested as much as when I was out there with the familiar Paul. So I would have signed up for the newer Paul, but the familiar Paul, when he shows back up, he completely has a forgetting of whoever was running Paul for the last 2 days. And they call it a blackout. Yeah. But somebody was representing you, and everyone who knew you as Paul, when they called you Paul, you responded as Paul. Your girlfriend didn't know the difference. Maybe you were even nicer when you were this, yes? Yeah. So this whole idea was you weren't walking around like a zombie or like in a vertical coffin. You were buying plane tickets. You're doing tons of shit. Yeah. But there was no, and the Paul that you thought you were was the only Paul. And then something happened when the brain got discharged of all the chemicals, the old Paul showed up and couldn't brook having a new Paul in front of it. So he completely forgot. You were blacked out. You couldn't remember what you were doing under the guidance of the other Paul. It's amazing. It's incredible. So there I was, and just drinking a lousy vodka. Ended up in a trailer park in a place 2 hours from the city. I looked out the window. There was a hang gliding airport. I knew San Francisco did not have a hang gliding airport, so I didn't know where I was. The guy, I'm in Calistoga, and just like as more, could not have been any more demoralized. Yeah. completely. So I just looked at the situation. The guy, I figured out what I'd been saying a couple sentences before, got into the flow of the talk with this guy, which wasn't anything, was just passing a bottle back and forth. Looked at him, and he had a big head and varicose veins on his nose and shit. And he looked like a bum to me. But he was looking at me like I was a bum. But that's how I read it. And then something stopped what I thought couldn't be stopped. The agitation of the head stopped it. The head couldn't throw any more spaghetti on the wall of the screen. Yeah. And so the screen went blank. And then suddenly it triggered back on, and it was like a CNN news flash, just a headline, no story. And it said, I'm fucked. Now, that had been the condition I'd been in for a while, but it was truly news to me. It got to something that it hadn't gotten to before. Yeah. We call it the innermost in recovery. So hit me. And then it had the next statement was, and you're not managerial quality. Very important. It wasn't as big as the I'm fucked, but it was sort of big print. Yeah. So that hit me. And then the the thought stream kicked in, and its direction and the stones in it changed. Yeah. I had thoughts that I hadn't been entertaining a minute, 5 minutes before. And the thought was to call this place I had been in for 2 years and see if they would take me. They didn't, but it set off a train of circumstances that brought me to my first recovery meeting that night. So a lady, a nurse, saved my ass once again. When I was driving back to the city with her, it was like the last hurrah of alcoholism. I tried to talk her into getting some beer, get the dirty magazines, cop the Coke, and rent the hotel room. She had followed that equation with me many times, hadn't been that satisfying for her. So she said, no, we're not doing that. And she made a deal with me. And what the deal was, you can stay at my place if you go to a AA meeting. And so I said yes. And then she brought me to my first meeting. And here in this dreaming, that miracle would have died on the vine, I think. But because the miracle led me to being introduced to a way of life that became the refuge, I've been clean and sober for 37 years. The point I was attempting to say this was, I thought it was always going to be a struggle with thoughts and feelings, and I hadn't done well saying no to urges. When I had an urge, I just fucking did it. Yeah, pretty. And the thoughts were really, when they started going, yes, they were like a train, a thought train that picked up momentum, and they would get obsessed over the Coke or something. Yes, and I wouldn't stop like a pit bull. I wouldn't stop until I got something. It was amazing how much money you can make when you had no money at all during the day, just fucking half hustling and shit. So I got whacked. Yes, I went to that meeting, slept in her closet that night. Next day, I went to another meeting at noon, and I just started going. And I've never had a strong feeling or urge or thought to drink or use. 37 years. There's been no battle. I haven't had to wrestle much. I had to wrestle what most people wrestle, inabilities to have viable relationships with others, you know, things like that. But this giant weather front had been dismissed. Yes, yes. The sun, even if I didn't see it, I knew it was shining. Before, I thought that the sun had been blotted out by the weather front. I knew, even if it was cloudy that day, I knew the sun was shining. So, yes. And this blew my mind because I never thought that would be the answer. I would thought the answer would have demanded a lot of maintenance and shit like that, and it really didn't. Yeah, I had to do a lot of things to change, to allow the action figure to change. I did. I had to learn a lot because I was bent the wrong way. The action figure, when you said go left, it would go right. Yes, it had very, it's, if, after I got sober, seeing its strategies, I couldn't believe I didn't get run over 8 times by a car. It was amazing. The way I went about living was unbelievably insane. Yes, it was, the grace was working overtime just to keep me alive in a way, basically. So this is the same thing. I had no idea because all what happened was the emphasis or the loudness had just been dimmed. Yeah. There was no knob I could find or no one else could find, but something just dimmed the whole thing down. Yes. Chilled it out. No idea that could possibly happen. I know I couldn't do it. I know you couldn't do it for me. Yeah. But something did. Yeah. And the same thing with this message. First, was introduced because I had been with a spiritual group when I was young. It's a long story, but I was in a heavy duty pre-probation program, and near the end of that, uh, I realized it was going to be an inside job. I can't do drug, it's not working. And so I got introduced to a meditation, and I very enthusiastically practiced it. And it was a group, and did it from 19 to 24. And then I got disappointed and everything, and I went back to using again. And then I crossed the line, and then this led me to all the other shit that happened. And then finally, Grace stepped in and struck me sober. Yeah. So then Buddhism, and because after this spiritual group, I didn't want the guru's dynamic. There was something off for me there. So Buddhism, great. I was sober now, was understanding some of the things I thought. I went to Thailand, and I just love temples, and Buddhist art and stuff, Buddhist tattoos and everything. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah. But then again, the center is the self in a way. I could not see that. Therefore, I was seeing everything else from it. I just couldn't get it. It was over the head, whatever. So I was seeing from self constantly. And therefore, I was getting a lot of biased feedback in a myopic manner. Yes. And then I realized Buddhism and any practice and meditation, there's some flaw in here. Something's not working. Yeah. And more isn't going to do it. Yeah, I could see the growth of of 1 day, 3 hour sitting of Zen, and then you decide to do a weekend, and then of course it's going to be the big jump into the 10-day retreat, and basically something continues to be off all the way through, but your only answer is to do more. I've got to do a 30-day retreat, and then I got to go do Vipassana in Burma because they are the best Vipassana teachers, and on and on. And I saw something, uh, I couldn't put my finger on it yet, but I knew it, felt it. Just like when I was in this program, Delancey Street, couldn't put my finger on it that they didn't have something I needed. And I would sit and talk to the people that had been there for 30 years, and they didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. So I knew I wasn't going to get what I needed there. I left there, and then I went through my little hell, but then I met what I needed, which was AA. Yeah. So the same thing. I heard this Buddhism and stuff, and there was just something going on that's not working. And then I heard non-duality, and it was the answer to it all. Yeah, because the idea it was so strongly believed that I must have done something to leave, let's say, the Godhead. And therefore all my activity was to get back, so to speak. But the point is, you've never left. Yeah, yeah. So then when I heard the statement, many of them, but one in Zen, in a faith mind, that you can't use activity to produce stillness, that would be activity, I would felt that captured what I'd been doing. Yeah. I was trying to get out of something as that's something I wanted to get out of. It had nothing to do with what I was practicing or who I was hanging out with. Had nothing to do what my head told it had a lot to do with. Yeah, you need to have a straight, a straighter spine or something like that. It had nothing to do with it. I was, my head was misleading me. Yeah. And so I heard non-duality. Didn't even hear it because she spoke very low and we were outside at a park in Berkeley, but I heard it. Yeah. Just being there triggered something. And then I was just led in that direction. And then all the confusing things and everything were answered quite clearly. Yeah. And a lot of the teachings of Ramana answered a lot of it, which is one of the famous things we use all the time here, is the idea that this is truly a non-existent thing. Yes. Yes. So flute is sort of a non-existent thing, but notes can be played through the flute with breath. But the flute can't produce any notes. It's just there, has certain holes, and if breath goes through it, notes will come out of those holes. The same thing. The body has 5 holes of conscious, contact, actually 6, and when existence blows through it, it has contact. You have thoughts, you're touching, feeling, smelling, tasting, touching. Yeah. And the head, of course, which is part of the body, sees the consciousness as part of the body. As the Course in Miracles says, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So the brain's reaction to the conscious contact, obviously, it infers the conscious contact as part of the body. Yeah. So now the non-existent thing is given the name of the existent thing at the expense of the conscious awakeness to the existence. Yes. Now we become incredibly self-conscious or self-conscious as of us as a thing. Yeah. And from there, if that point, if you start from that point, the only real solution to that is to recognize that you are before that point. Because if you start after that point, everything else you do is actually reinforcing the missed point. Yes? So once you feel like it's true, you can't untrue it because it will be you trying to untrue the you. Yes? And it doesn't matter how slick you are or whatever you do, I feel there's a fundamental futility to that. And sooner or later, you're going to be brought there. And I believe satsang can bring you there sooner. Yeah, I do. And there's no martyrdom in this. You don't need to. There's enough evidence to blow a fucking hole in a. Yeah, you've just been trying to light the wrong fuse. Yeah, yeah. That which you take to be the fuse is blowing it out all the time and pointing. Yeah. So I fell into it was just I went to Berkeley. I had no idea that it was going to be like a tumbleweed getting blown to certain places. And then I heard things that really twisted my head like a German Shepherd, because the mental logic, when it's not tickled or let's say you pinch it or you stick something in it, just goes on mental logicking, yeah. But it's fucking incredibly insane. And so when non-duality's logic confronted the mental logic was getting very uncomfortable. And it was, yeah. And by it getting uncomfortable, I could see its foreign nature, let's say. Yes. And suddenly what was under review wasn't you and what I did, and this was the idea of me came under review. And with a little light, not being directed through it at everything else, but being put on it, it just crumbles. Yeah.
Yes.
And then you are actually a before.
Mhm.
Yeah. That which was manufactured that came after has never been you. It's just been presented to be a you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as an audience, we respond to the show. This myopic show doesn't want any other shows to go on.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so this is what it says in the course, when you appoint this something else to be yourself, and then you let it be the eyes for you to see the world, and then to tell you what the world is, you have no suspicion that it's going to mislead you, but now you do.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now you do. You've sat in a sort of discomfort or something for a long enough time that you finally, you know, stuck your head out to check things out, and then you've seen something, and maybe that something that you saw triggers the invitation of non-duality to show up in your life. And then when you hear the invitation of non-duality, you're truly in the head of the tiger, in the tiger's, your head is in the tiger's mouth. You're in there already. Yeah, the gig's up, really, literally,
Yeah.
because you now see that which doesn't want to know is not you. Yeah. And suddenly, either quickly or slowly, the emphasis that has been put on your life shifts. Yeah. From the after to the before, which allows the after to go more or to be traveled through much more smoothly, actually. What you're really looking for in this world is not of this world. We are the carrier of the peace that we're looking for here.
Yes.
Yeah. We try to control environments and everything and situations, but basically the real peace is the mind before all the agitation, the big M mind, before the small m mental process is agitating. The big mind is still. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So by losing interest, which you can't do, but you can observe by a losing of interest in all of this, there's a gaining of interest in the before. And then you truly you see you're not that which is looking.
Yes.
You are the looking, but that which it says is looking, the you is you're not. Yeah. So the seeker and all of its stories about all the different sorts and all the seeking gets compressed into the seeker is the sort. So that's the end of the story of the seeking, isn't it? I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll
That's it.
seek for things,
Yeah.
yeah, like a sandwich and shit like that. But the seeking for the big, that's over.
Yeah.
And all the plans of the spiritual journey are canceled because based upon having never left. Yes, you don't need. You've been already. Many people here have gone through a lot of spiritual practices. They have booked a lot of retreats. They have gone on a lot of spiritual journeys. They have arrived, and yet never stayed, and also just somehow get disqualified and have to go back and make a journey and arrive again. So it's easy, I feel, for someone who has gone through that rotation to hear the message upon having never left. Yeah, yeah. And because it's the perfect answer why you've never arrived, because you've never left. That's why. And that which really puts a lot of meaning into the arriving you've lost interest in. And now that meaning, which is blinding you to the upon having never left, doesn't blind you anymore. And you're in the upon having never left camp. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. So satsang is a vehicle, just a it's like going to the same watering hole, jumping in, feeling that same refreshment. Yeah. And in that, it's sort of like when you dye a piece of cloth, you put it into the dye. It may take a few dye, putting it in for it to really saturate the old fabric based on how, or your deep mental grooves, whatever. But it's going to dye it. And I think satsang is the dye vat, the DYE. And you go here, get little dropped in. The color of your fabric of existence changes over time. You don't even notice it because you've lost interest. You're not checking in on yourself every second. That's why when people tell me how I feel, I'm always surprised. They ask me how I feel. What? Yeah, how do I feel? Thousands of things. I do. I feel thousands of things all day. You would be bored stiff if I had a journal of the moment to moment changes that go on all day. There's millions of them. Let's just say I wrote thousands of them. You'd be bored stiff. What do you feel right now? I can feel the blood pulsing. Oh, what? Happiness actually makes no sense. What the fuck is that? Those things make no sense at all. You're doing good? Uh, yeah. Just makes no sense. So, so here we are. You show up, we talk. Yeah. Shelter, take refuge in satsang. Yeah. Come out. It's through absorption. Yes. Just get absorbed. Something gets absorbed, and what was difficult to try to think yourself into it is found very easy when you see you're not the thinker. Yeah, really. The tools we're attempting to use don't work. You're not going to think yourself into peace, nor are you going to do yourself into peace. Yeah. All that the system offers it doesn't have the tools for this. Yeah. Because it has a overruling program that it is the existent thing. Without that being able to be changed, it's pointless to use all of its tools because it changes and changes away, but it doesn't change that. And that's what needs to be seen. Yeah. So everything it can offer and let me do it this way, it doesn't, all of it is in that mistake. It can't get you out of it. All it does is reinforce the same mistake over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why the greatest value of it is it's failing. It truly is. Because you can be convinced by failing. Yeah. The convincing you've gotten by success all just led to just more seeking, hasn't it? You've never got still after all your practices. You just kept doing more of them. Yeah. The stillness didn't become an abiding. It became something that needed to be maintained and structured and controlled. Yes?
Yeah.
That should tell you something. Yeah. If something is true, it's true. It doesn't need you to make it more true.
No.
You trying to make it more true is making something else that isn't true seem more true. Yeah. So There's the presupposing of a non-existent thing being what? An existent thing. That's the head. The head is supposing it now, and that supposing is presupposed. So it tricks us. It does it now, but it states that it's already done. So when you feel like a self, you feel like a historical self. That's made up. That's manufactured. It's supposing this thing now, but it presupposes it before. So the non-existent thing is presupposed to be an existent thing. By what? The head. Yes.
Yes.
So the non-existent thing, and there's existence. Yeah, yes. There isn't just a little. There isn't like a flute-sized breath that goes into the flute. No, doesn't. It's the breath's nowhere else, and it makes the note out of the flute. Existence is a huge field.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like I have a 6'2" existence. Yes, it's like pencils that have different sizes. No, existence is like if all this was water, we'd be drenched. If the space of this
Yes.
space was water, you'd be completely enveloped. So we're
Yes.
completely enveloped by existence.
Yes.
Yes. And then it triggers the non-existent thing. And now existence is playing through the non-existent thing. The head
Wants to claim it.
witnessing it with its misunderstanding says the existence is the thing. The thing is what's existing. Simple mistake, but
Yes.
repeated over and over again can lead. Like if you are on a trip in time, the first step is the most important because it sets a direction. So if this misunderstanding is set that you are an existent thing, then and you walk with that idea thousands of steps, and then you're trying to retrace those steps, which are more thousands of trying not to be the existent thing as an existent thing, trying to deny it, whatever. It just goes on and on.
Yes.
And it mutates and gets fucking crazy and weird because it just keeps
Yes.
growing. Yes. So here, the presupposing is the mental activity that only can happen now, but it says you happened then, like you're
Yes.
historical.
Yes.
Yeah. And basically, you can't go back in time to fix it, so fucking work on it. I can't go back and undo it, so I got to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, it was never done.
No.
So there's no going, you don't need to go back to undo anything. You just see it, yeah, from reality. And reality knows what's not reality. It does. It does. Yeah. So presupposing of a non-existent thing being an existent thing. And then it leads to the existent thing wants to get salvation for itself. Yeah. So what does it do? It practices spiritual practices. This is the thing he says. And if that's the case, that what is being pointed at as the practitioner of the spiritual practices is the existent thing, which is actually a non-existent thing. The spiritual practices themselves are going to reinforce it. They're not going to destroy it. Yeah. So what you're trying to use to undo something is doing it over and over again. I mean, that's the point of non-duality, the futility of seeking. I mean, it can be great though. I mean, but there's a futility in it because if the point is to find what you are, well, you're successful. You're already that. Yeah, you're so successful, you don't have to do shit. What? Yeah. See, that's what the head doesn't like. It would, if you said, you could become what you really are in 50 years, it would sign up. Yeah. But to hear that you already are it, it has no interest really in it. Yeah,
Because it has to stop.
exactly. It's the emperor will be revealed with no clothes when you're it's you know working towards the goal of being still, it can't. Yeah, and it knows it's going to be revealed, and therefore it slow walks everything. Because if gets to be still, it's going to notice it can't be still. So its nature is agitated.
There.
Our nature is not. So this is the beauty of non-duality. Once you get a sense of the be still, what can't be still, you see is not you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good. So when it flies, you just recognizing it's moving away. You don't follow where it goes or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah.
You just see it moving away, and it's like you forget all about it. It's not like, what, just
Go.
as soon as it moves, you're more rooted in staying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel satsang is the only thing I have done is go to satsang, and I'd say 20 something more years. I have not done anything.
Mm.
No trying to reach something, nothing at all. Nothing. Zippo. Yeah.
No need to.
Satsang. Satsang, it's like the pump doesn't need to be pumped. It will pump.
Yes.
Yeah. If you stop pumping it, it will pump. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you'll get the water that you need and you drink it. Satsang is incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I've been in satsang in India and here and Toronto, lots of places. The sense of the basis of satsang is always the same, has this incredible feeling. You can't really recognize it, but it's unforgettable. You get used to it. Thousands of satsangs you've gone to, there's been a sense that's always the same, which is presence and availability.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, let's open it up. Hey, thanks so much for putting up with the old man ranting. So just let me say it once again. Just if you read Ramana's stuff, obviously other people that was there wrote his principles and things. And if you read a few different ones, they all have some of the same things, and they're usually emphasized with the problem or the greatest mystery. And like in AA book, we have when something is italicized, it means put an emphasis on it. Well, the way that he says the problem, the greatest mystery, that's emphasis. Yeah. And so that's a point where you should, hey, wait a minute, all right, what's coming? And he says, listen, there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing being an existent thing, and then wanting to get salvation for itself. Now, if this is the case, then obviously his emphasis of it is the case. This is the mental birth, really. The mental birth christens you as a thing. When it sees the animating principle, it mistakes what's being animated as the animating principle. The body is being animated, it's not the animating principle. Because when the animating principle leaves, the body's left.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's too animated. It doesn't have any left in its pocket.
No.
Take it out of an ear. I had a little here. Nothing's in reserve. It's just
Bye-bye.
the bank is bankrupt immediately. So, so, so this is the case. And then he says, because he's talking to people in searching and stuff. He says, your spiritual practices themselves. So he's specifically talking about spiritual practices. Yeah. He didn't say practices, he said spiritual practices. Your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing this mistake. How can they destroy it? And yeah, he leaves a question mark because instead of going down the same route, that pause can stop and you can start going in a different direction. And what you'll find will be different because you're going in a different direction. Yeah. You don't choose it, you're led there. So you hear something, there's an aha or a pause, and then your little way, you know, how your camera is stationed in one place, something moves it a little. And yeah, and then there's a little oil and you realize it can move. And you realize you've been looking at things with like those blinders. Yes. Every time you try to look, the blinders were there. Yeah, no matter what you looked at. Now something goes and the blinders are like this. And you see, wow, I sort of was missing a whole lot. And then you hear something and it does, you get a whack, and then maybe 2 degrees. Now you're looking up a little. And then you're not like cemented into this position. You know what I mean? There's, yeah. So, yeah. All right. Any questions, Kathleen? Anyone? Or no? Beautiful. Beautiful. Clean broadcast and reception, eh? Very clean. Very nice. All right. Well, we'll say goodbye. Thank you, Kathleen, as always, doing nothing. Good. Very good approach. You got it. You got a good handle on it. David, down under. Nice to see you, my friend. Stephen Mack on having never left. Yes. Maro, yes, she's the orb is on. Yes, very good. Maro, Topher Kent. I like that little character. Robert Crossman. Hi, how you doing, Robert? Yes, yes. I'm happy to see you. Ernie, as always. Alan is in his true rest right now. Look at Alan Olson. James Olson. Shannon. The whole Olson family. Ernie. Alan Olson, James Olson, Shannon. She's disappeared also. Fantastic. Oh, there she is. She's coming up. Eric SoCal. All right, from Steve in San Diego, to ever hold firmly onto nothing. Yes. Chris H. Nice to see you, bro. Yes. Vimal and his lovely character next to him. Nice to see both of you. Yes. Stephen C. Oh, we got Stephen C. Eric. I think we have everyone. Hey,
Paul, we have a hand up. A hand went up while you were saying goodbye.
Oh, we can't do anymore. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's too late.
I rolled the carpet up already.
Okay, then. Thank you.
We've got a tango class.
Okay, have
Yeah,
fun.
we got to leave quickly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
All
a
right.
good night.
Kathleen,
Thank
great.
you.
David, well, I haven't
Night,
seen
everybody.
Joey, everyone, Shannon, everybody, Chris. Nice pleasure to see you all. Susan Harris, Maggie, Darshan. Yes, thank you. And we'll be here tomorrow, and really appreciate just sitting. It's very nice. Nice to see everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Kathleen. But thanks, everyone.